live. Hello, Tom LaVecchia here with the latest edition of the Armchair MBA. Today, a very special guest and a very special show. We are doing my normal interview, but we're doing it in a live fashion over StreamYard. We got Tommy Stiggs going to be talking about the Jersey Mob, and very, candidly, he had some requirements. We're not going to talk about anybody who's current or anybody that could be negatively affected by the podcast. It's going to be more of an historical reference, and we're also not going to discuss who exactly he was associated with out of respect. Tommy Stiggs, welcome to the Armchair MBA. How you doing today?
Pleasure to be here. I'm good. How are you?
Very well, very well. Got Sandy here who's going to assist us.
Hello,
In
Sandy.
the podcast. She's an associate of the LaVecchia family, and we're going to do some fun things. All right. So where did you grow up? What part of Jersey?
Belleville, Newark. North Newark, Belleville. I was born in Newark, grew up in between Belleville, South Orange Avenue in Newark, and Stephen Crane Village on the border of Belleville and Newark. So we were everywhere.
For those that know or don't know, Belleville is the home of Frankie Valli and most of the Four Seasons.
Joe Pesci.
And Joe Pesci as well.
Graduated from my high school.
Love it. So we're going to jump right in because a Brooklyn mini guy, Tom Yagro, Lexi, Tom, we're going to have a little interview, and then we're going to open it up for people that want to jump in, especially into the Four Horsemen are welcome to jump on. We're going to chop it up a little first before we open it up. All right. So give us, that was, big Italian area, especially North Newark back then. Give us like your first, brush that, wait a second, this is the mob. What is it? And how did you get introduced to it?
Okay. In this area, in that area, it was everyday life. We didn't know what it was. It was just natural to us.
Yeah.
So as a young boy, there was card games going on in my basement. My mother hosted card games.
Oh, wow.
She cut the pot. She had card games. I was serving sandwiches at probably 9 years old, making tips off poker players that would be in my basement for 3 days at a time.
Wow. And
fast forward, young, right? Yeah, young. So fast forward, get around high school. I say one of my friends, 11th grade, lost a ton of money, $54,000 in 11th grade to the bookmakers, right? So I was not a gambler, but I said there's money to be made in this. I started photocopying my own football slips.
Oh, wow.
Based on the regular distribution of those old football slips, I photocopied them.
Wait, you would photocopy and take your own action?
Thousands of them.
And what if you lost?
Yeah, it was a shot I took. There was enough money coming in to cover the losses. Those tickets were, nobody wins. So I got caught.
By what guy?
The guys found out I was doing this.
And what happened?
They called me in. Long story short, I had to go through them, and I had to buy the tickets printed for them every week, from them every week. They had their guy that printed them. And 4,000 tickets a week I was moving at a young age, running it like it was a big business.
So you were, when those that jumping on, Tommy's, Stiggs, out of the life, we're just going to talk about the good old days. So you got caught, and then they make you pay a little back pay, or was more like moving forward, you got to work with us?
No. There was no back pay. I had family involved, and nobody was going to really bother me in that way.
Yeah.
They just said, you got to conform. You got to, you can't just do this. It's not.
Now your family that was on your side and loved you, did they biff you in the back of the head, Tommy, what are you doing? You can't do that? Or screw it, good for you, I got you.
No, they pulled me in deeper.
I love it. Now, initially, again, we're not going to give away too much because you're still in that neighborhood and you're still like a regular guy. But at that time, what family was it associated with?
Genovese guys.
Now, I am unpeeling, or as I say, unpacking, and the more I dig deeper, the Jersey Genovese is probably the strongest of all the 7 families that operate in New Jersey. Is that a fair statement, even then and now?
I got to say, in the Belleville area, it was almost equal amongst most of the families. I would say we had in this area represented by every family.
Yeah.
The social club by every family.
Yeah.
And Gambinos were strong.
Yeah.
Very strong.
Bobby
John
Cabert.
Gotti's main man was in Belleville.
Bobby Cabert, right?
Bobby Cabert. I got a great story about him. But I mean, yeah, I could go on and on.
He's not around anymore. That was our deal.
Not around? No, he's not around. Fast forward to current time.
Yeah.
Now, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I get a message from somebody in Morris County. Knows I'm from Belleville, from this area.
Yeah.
They buy. People go bad on storage units. They go bad and they auction them off.
Yeah.
And you get the contents. It could be $1 in there. It could be 20 million.
Yeah, it's like Storage Wars, that show.
Yeah. Yeah. So this lady, somebody bought this storage unit at an auction. Bobby Cabert's ashes are inside.
What?
In a box. All the receipts from the funeral parlor. Everything.
See, I didn't think many Catholics did that, let alone wise guys burnt their.
He was cremated.
Wow.
Right out of the prison. It wasn't like a big funeral here or anything. It was.
Wow.
It was a quick thing. We got the ashes to the right people. I reached out here. A couple of people reached out here and there, and it got to where it needed to be.
And he was a powerhouse in
Yes.
New Jersey. And part of the reason why he was believed to be strong, he had ties into the police, it was believed, correct?
The what union?
To the police. I think he was actually somewhat hooked up, like with a lot of police. Like he had a very long run, unusually long run.
Yeah.
And as my understanding was, he had like police corruption or state police or OC. Like I don't know if it's true.
I don't know. I don't remember
part
that.
of the rumor, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember that. They had trouble with the state police.
Oh, that he did. Yeah.
In a bar in Belleville, they beat up a state policeman in the bar on Washington Avenue in the Belleville pub.
Some wise guys?
5 or 6 Gambino guys went to work on a cop.
Really?
Yeah, state cop.
How did that? A statey?
State cop. A state.
Yeah, that's what they said in Boston.
It didn't end well.
How did that pan out? They find those guys, or like?
Yeah, it didn't end well.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't. It's almost like being a main guy. You don't want.
Nah, they were a wild group.
Wow. So I want to touch on the Gambinos for a second. So Bobby Cabert was a whale. I knew that, but took a while to get him. They got him like later in life. Like I think it was in the 70s.
Later on, but he was a rough neighborhood guy. He did his things around the neighborhood. It wasn't until Gotti that he really got known. Gotti loved him.
Yeah, he was like Gotti's guy in Jersey, right?
He was the guy. Gotti would come to Belleville, to his place over there.
Wow.
In Silver Lake. That's a section of Belleville, Silver Lake.
Yeah.
And I know Gotti would stop at, I think, the Lyndhurst Diner for the world famous cheesesteak.
Oh.
Cheesecake. Wow. I know John Gotti loved the cheesecake. So anytime he came here, the Belleville area, to meet, the Belleville guys, he would get a piece of that cheesecake.
Wow. Now, interesting enough is Bobby Cabert, like again, going back and talking about him and just what I know historically and being a Jersey guy, he was a whale and he was powerful. But why? Did he have big numbers? Did he have hitters? Was he political? Like what was that source of strength?
Yeah, balls. He was that guy. Yeah. They called him, he came. That was it. And he had a great crew. The crew behind him was tremendous crew of guys.
Yeah. I remember my old podcast, John used to say it really mattered who your captain was and your crew was because you were kind of a family within a family. So let's kind of migrate over to the Genovese, right? Yep. Now, Genovese, you have different Genovese factions, historically very strong. Yep. Now, you can't talk about the Genovese in New Jersey without bringing up Richie the Boot. Did you catch any of his era, or were you too young?
Too young. My mother, my grandparents, obviously they grew up in the same neighborhood. My grandparents were from the same neighborhood he was from. Yeah. I still go to the church. I mean that he donated to, and his neighborhood. The neighborhood changed once they built the projects. The Italians moved out. They wanted to do public housing, and they forced all the Italians out. But that was his neighborhood, and we're still faithful to it.
And who, if you could speak to, who took over for Richie the Boot?
Richie the Boot, then Andy Girard. gentleman of a man. Then Pee Wee DePhillips after him, Tommy DePhillips.
And these are all heavyweights and
Heavyweight guys, but
yeah.
heavyweight guys, but you know, if you walked across the street and you were getting a crumb bun, they'd buy it for you.
Yeah. Now
Great
I always like to talk about and always like to read and research the most powerful guys that you almost never heard of. And one of those names that come to my mind is Jerry Katina, who was a whale, had a long run and died his own bed in Florida. And it was believed that he was like top 3 in the Genovese family. And we'll get to Bobby Mann in a moment. You know,
but he was New York more than Jersey.
Oh, I always thought he was Jersey mostly.
But he was in New York more than Jersey. He was an underboss for a period.
Yes, but he always kind of managed to kind of like just not be involved or stay behind the radar screen and not fly below the radar screen. And then how about Bobby Mann? So Bobby Mann kind of took it over. And interesting enough is he was a Hudson County guy.
Yeah, he was a Hudson County guy. But he was a very powerful guy back then. I mean, he was in the mix. You know, the Genovese guys were wide, long, strong, different crews. They were probably the most dominant. So you would have his crew, then you would have Pee Wee's crew. Who
was Pee Wee?
Tommy DePhillips.
Okay.
So Tommy DePhillips took over Andy Gerard's crew, which was Richie the Boots' crew.
Got it. And so Bobby Mann rose to power. I think he was out of Hoboken, the Hudson County guy, and obviously got caught on tape planning to kill Gotti. But I don't. A lot of people say that wasn't true.
Well, it's hard to. Who knows? With all that volatile situations going up, his real name is Lewis, though. His name isn't Bobby.
Oh, Lewis, not Bobby. Okay.
But they call him Bob. Everybody called him Bobby. Yeah. But Lewis was his name.
Interesting. And you know, it's interesting because you talk about the 5 families, right? So whether you started off with Luciano all the way now to Bellomo, who may or may not be the boss, who knows, right? But,
who knows today?
Conti and Lombardi. But even in New Jersey, the Genovese just operated differently.
Just a different way.
So how did how did the Genovese guys, in your opinion, operate differently than maybe even the powerful Gambinos at the time?
I just think they were business oriented versus anything else. They were smart.
Like gentlemen, right?
Gentlemen, smart. You know, okay, during the day and then the Sunday football games are going on. Everybody's around, all the clubs. Yeah. But on Friday night and Saturday night, everybody's out. We're all out at clubs, right? Yeah. None of them.
Wow.
A few.
Interesting.
But laying low, staying on point, conducting business, getting it done, and just they were fresh on Sunday morning. Fresh.
You know, on the Mafia 10 Commandments that were found in Michele Greco's house in Sicily, one of the 10 Commandments was you were not to go to a discotheque and to bars and places of ill repute. That comes from the back of the old Men of Honor days. Yeah. And you were supposed to be like a serious guy in life and not fuck around.
Yeah, but they were in the clubs with us. They had fur coats on and Macanudo longs. You know, it's hard to, you know. It's hard. When you're earning, listen, a lot of guys came from $0.
Yeah.
I came from negative money. You understand me? I came from negative money. Yeah. So when I was able to go out, buy a shirt, go out, have a good time, what were we going to do? Tony Pro. That's funny.
Yeah.
So, you know, what are we supposed to do? We never had this before. Now we're able to buy a car, buy a shirt, go out to the club. How do you not do it when you come from humble, less than humble beginnings, most of us?
Good point. Now, one name, and we'll get to it in a little bit, is one name you do not hear, and I like to use the word indigenous to New Jersey, is the Cavalcantes. Nowhere to be found in nowhere. Now, very small representation during your era, right?
Frank Palizzi was the only one, and he was a Belleville guy. He was from Belleville. He's dead now. So
he was a whale. He was caught up in the Pizza Connection trial. Unfortunately, he got cancer. You know, he got sick. Yes. But he was probably, I would argue, top 5 in the state at one point. Would you agree?
Yeah. Well, he had He had a lot of the Belleville area tied up.
Yeah.
He had the club. It was called Casa Polizzi.
Oh shit.
That was like the Copacabana over here.
Oh shit.
And you go to Casa Polizzi. There was valet parking. Everybody's dressed up.
Yeah.
And that was him. But he was basically the only guy. Maybe him and about 2 or 3 other guys that were with him were around the Belleville area.
Got
But
it.
he had a construction company. He had a legitimate construction company.
That I knew. He was in construction. Now, this goes a little before your time because you're a younger guy. But why the Cavalcantes with him? I figure he would have been with the Genovese or the Gambinos. Maybe he's from that part of Sicily. Maybe I should check it out.
I think it's because he was 100% Sicilian from the other side. The LCN guys around the Belleville Newark area within the last 40, 50 years were American Italians, Italian Americans.
Correct.
So the social clubs were all American Italian.
Yeah.
Then you had one Italian club on Bloomfield Avenue, and then you have Polizzi, who was, with the guys from Elizabeth.
Got it. And I'll speak to Elizabeth in a little bit. That was the Rivera club, and that's where they are in Sicily. And a lot of guys that came over were from the other side, and that's why the Jersey family was very strong for a bit. But we'll get to that in a second. So I was playing at a few years back at a game in Bloomfield, and I don't know. It was a connected game, and I don't know. I knew the guy, but I don't know who he was with. To be honest with you, I never ever won in Kenilworth. I never won in a connected game. Are they all crooked, or was I just getting cold cards?
They were not. They weren't rigged. I worked doors.
Never. Kenilworth, New Jersey, Bloomfield Avenue, behind the
listen,
that tanning salon over there.
It's gambling. Nobody's winning. I did this for years. Yeah. I handicapped. I worked games. I worked the doors. I did it all.
Yeah.
Nothing was really rigged. Nothing was rigged.
Yeah.
It's gambling. You're not winning. No matter what you do, you're not winning.
True. All right. So, talking about the West Side, kind of Newark area, but I want to go deeper on the West Side. So again, me being a Jersey guy, being that area, Union, Rosal Park, Elizabeth, and so forth, Kenilworth. But a name that came that kind of superseded the area was the Campese. The Campese. Oh, yeah. They were huge.
Yes.
The brothers, the family in Vailsburg, Newark, and they were believed to be big into H, right? Just allegedly, I don't want to.
I don't know what drugs at that point, but definitely.
But they were heavy hitters, right?
Yes.
But again, to me, I thought they were their own family, but they were part of the West Side.
Yeah, there's no own family.
You're with somebody.
No such thing. You're somebody's. You're connected to somebody in some way. But the things they were doing, I would say the core of the crew wanted to keep their distance, but still benefit from what they were doing.
Good point.
So they were a tough group. That's my mother's neighborhood.
Yeah. So
South Orange Avenue.
Well, did the North Newark guys and the Belleville guys, did they interact? Did they get along? Not get along? I always kind of wondered that. Because they're two different lanes, No
beefs, but never beefs. And I will tell you this. At 3 a.m., everybody was together at P.D. White's place, the Round Table. It was an after-hours club.
Yeah.
So we would go in there after everything closed, 3 a.m. It would look like it was 10 p.m. Band.
Oh, wow.
Bar. Leave there 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. So there was none of that.
Interesting. So
but they watched that neighborhood. The neighborhood was good. And listen, they did what they did, but nobody acted up in the South Orange Avenue area, Vailsburg area.
Now, fast forward the 80s and 90s, we can argue that the Lucchese's were probably one of the strongest crews in Jersey, whether it be the Pernas, the DeSetas, the Chardy, Asaturo, his son, those guys. And they're growing on, they're all cousins, and they are all growing trees. Would you agree that they were probably some of the strongest, one of the strongest crews in terms of the cases in North Jersey?
Until Casso fucked it all up.
Yeah. So what was going? Now we always hear the New York side of things. What's the Jersey side of that story?
I'm going to assume he ruffled feathers
Yeah.
and just had people scared. And that was the reaction. When we heard Tommy went bad, man, it was something.
But
That
that's
was a guy that you would never would imagine would go bad. These are relatives to these. These are all relatives, these guys.
yeah, yeah.
That group is relatives. It's not just LCN family. These are relatives.
So
When
what was
Tommy Riccardi went bad,
yeah.
what they call the Machine Gun Tommy. So I go into the social club on Roosevelt Avenue, like Machine Gun Tommy went bad. I said, what? Everybody's like, what?
Wow.
You know?
So, but that's the thing that people don't get me wrong. Casso was a whale. He was powerful. He had hitters. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, he was a maniac, right? But
Yeah.
these guys weren't slouches either. Tommy Ricciardi,
No.
these are serious. These were serious guys. These weren't like that. Wasn't the Mickey Mouse Club? So the
Absolutely
fact
not.
that Casso had those guys kind of spinning in the wheels. That's pretty crazy.
Well, because I guess people loyal to the guys in Jersey got the word to Jersey that this is going on.
Yeah.
Jersey guys were respected in that family.
Good
They're
point.
gentlemen too. Gentlemen. Like you'll never see.
Why do you think exactly why Ricciardi went bad?
There's no way to know. I really don't know. It's hard to say. Here's my thinking. With anybody that goes bad, I might go off track a little bit here.
Yeah, please.
You get into this life, right? And when you get into that life, me, I haven't jaywalked in 20 years, but you get into that life, you go in knowing that it may be your cousin, your brother, your friend that's going to betray you. You know this already.
True.
Going in. You got to take that. You got to take whatever comes your way. You know it's a life of betrayal, right?
Yeah.
You got to take it. Tommy had to take a bullet if that's what it was. Tommy Riccardi had to take a bullet if that's what it was. If you signed up for it, you got to go full in. It's hard to say, you know, we can say this all day from the back seat.
Yeah.
But my thinking is you signed up for this, man. You signed up for this.
And
again, my other thinking is, do you want to go to prison for 50 years? And the first thing that comes to my mind with that is the scent of a woman.
Yeah.
You're never going to have the scent of a woman again.
What do you think?
It's crazy.
What do you think, though? And I would use the argument that, like, you and I are both Italian American guys, right? We both grew up in New Jersey, and I, you know, stayed away from the life because I just had a mother that like religiously would not let me hang out with you. You know, I mean, even I was like 18 coming home. Who are you with?
Yeah.
Okay, you sleep my child. Like, so, like, you know, it's very tight. You know, great mother, thank God, right? But I look at it this way, and a lot of guys are like, you know, exactly that. You know what you signed up for, right? And they're like to me, well, if you were looking at football numbers, what would you do? Well, the truth of the matter is, Tommy, I would never put me or my family in that situation where I was looking at football. I might quit white collar crime. Just kidding. But I would never put myself in that position. If you sign up for that life, brother, there should be some type of, you know what I mean? So I actually agree with you in terms of if you sign up for that. How about when who flipped first, Ricciardi or Asatero?
Asatero.
And people were more shocked at that, right? Because he was another tough dude.
I don't know. Yeah, he was, but I didn't, you know, that was before me a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
I knew when Tommy was around. I think Asatero was already in Florida.
Okay.
My time.
Yeah.
But Tommy was that was a big surprise. Now, some guys, let me go off a little bit. Some guys get into this out of survival.
Yeah.
Some guys get into this out of glamour. There's no glamour in this at all.
Yeah.
I was involved in this out of survival. My father left. My mother was alone with me and my brother.
Yeah.
Me and my mother, my brother, we had no heat in the house, and I had to figure out ways to, you know, to make it happen. So I guess I'm of an old mindset.
Now, because now we passed the statute.
What's that?
Well, we passed the statute of limitations, and you showed me some articles.
Good. There's no statute.
So you're good now.
I'm convicted. I went to jail. I'm convicted. There's no statute. I don't have anything.
That's what I love. That's why I talk freely. So what rackets did you get involved with? And
Gambling.
Wow.
Gambling, bookmaking,
You had a half sheet, or you were taking book? Or what were you doing?
handicapping, bookmaking, more than half. I had 100 guys playing under me. I had
Yeah.
agents under me playing. I had just a shitload of action, but I was
And what
good at
happened-
it.
And you got
I was
pinched?
good at it. The reason people gravitated to my business was, you know, some bookmakers are gamblers, right?
Yeah.
If you back now, I'm convicted of this. It doesn't make a difference what I say. But if you gambled with me, you got paid on Monday. I didn't wait till Thursday to collect from somebody. I paid you on Monday
Wow.
before I collected.
Oh,
You
shit.
follow me?
So that's how you build up a good, like, so obviously when
Good,
people
right.
lose, which they always will in the long run, you give them some reinforcement. When you win Monday morning, you meet up your guy and you get your cash.
That's it.
Yeah, but to do that and give the business aspect, because you need a lot of cash on hand and a lot of cash flow.
Depends who's behind you.
Did you
If
get
they're solid behind you, you're good. Just for an example, I'd have just an example. My package lost 10,000 on a Monday. Somebody's got 10,000 in my hand by Monday, 8 o'clock in the morning.
wow?
Not necessarily out of my hand. It
Yeah.
could be,
Yeah.
but depends who's behind you. So
How'd you get pinched?
I got pinched. My best friend ratted me out
Get out of here.
from birth.
Oh.
My best friend. It's crazy.
Did he get any jail time?
He got jail time, but it was a little rough for him. Essex County. It's no joke.
Wow.
Well,
And
county jail, a day in county jail is like 6 months in any other jail. You know what I mean?
yeah, the cat, especially what you were in Essex too, right?
Yeah, Essex County. Yeah. So he got pinched. He fucked up big time. Made huge mistakes. He had young kids gambling with him, and one kid lost money, couldn't pay. Another young kid kidnapped the young kid. These are 15-year-old kids. I have no idea this is going on.
Jesus.
They drop him off in the projects on Baxter Terrace in Newark. He runs into a cop. They pinch the guy that was under me, which was my best friend, and then he rolls on me.
Wow. So hold on. So now that you're older and reformed, right?
Yes, 100%.
Do you forgive your best friend?
Absolutely not. And I'm a church-loving man.
So
I'm a God-loving man, but I don't know.
So that's why. Okay, so like some people got on me, right? They're like, well, how can you have a show with an informant, or how can you have so and so on that, so and so on? And my thing was always like, I'm a podcaster. I'm not from that life, so I'm not one to judge, right?
Yeah.
But now, on one end, you want to hear updated stuff. You want to hear first party content, right?
Yeah.
Open the horse's mouth. But
Yeah.
the other end, they were, they ratted out their Tommies, right?
Yeah.
So where do you land on informants, these days?
I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I can't condone it.
Yeah.
It's bad with me, man. I don't.
Well, I won't say I won't, because I won't get into the mob tube mix, but I know for a fact.
I don't care. Listen, we can talk.
No, I know, but I know you used to like to stay away from certain shows.
No.
For that reason, right?
No. Listen, I'm okay. Whatever everybody does is what they do. I'm okay with all of it. It's enjoyable to all of us. And if they say they're not watching, they're lying. They're watching.
Yeah.
Right? So, I don't know. It's just, it doesn't sit well with me. That's all.
Now, in retrospect, right? Hindsight's always 20/20. Let's call your guy Mr. X, right? You and Mr. X are rolling hard. You're friends. Were there cracks you didn't pick up on till later because your friend, did you have a blind spot? Maybe you drank too much or got too much.
No.
You didn't see this coming from nowhere?
We were neighborhood guys. We were in diapers together.
Oh, shit.
I'm 52, but you could say that I got a mind of a 75, 80-year-old man, right?
Yeah.
Because we grew up together, like 3 houses from each other. When he got pinched, I was sitting on the couch with his mother arranging bail and a lawyer for him. And then something's going on. He's down there way too long. I made a call to my lawyer, and he said, let me check this out. He checked it out. He's like, yeah, he's everything. From the minute you were born, he's giving them to current day.
Did you have to surrender, or they came for you?
I left his mother's house. I talked to my lawyer. He said, there's a warrant coming now for your arrest. The day we buried my grandfather, I came home from my grandfather's funeral. The day we buried my grandfather, my whole family is at my house, from my grandmother to the youngest nephew or niece. And my lawyer says, there's a warrant, there's an active warrant. They're looking to come to your house and tear it apart with your whole family there. I said, what do we do? What do we do? He's like, I'm going to try to make arrangements to have you turn yourself in.
Holy shit.
He did make those arrangements with the prosecutor to turn myself in, but there was an active warrant. He said, you got to leave town for the weekend. I had my fiance at the time and my mother sneaking around while everybody's mourning at my house about my grandfather's death, bring me close to my lawyer's office, and I went to Atlantic City for 4 days.
Why, they had to negotiate your surrender?
They negotiated my surrender, but there was an active warrant. Even though you have a negotiated surrender, the warrant is active. You get stopped on Route 22, they can pull you in.
Good point. All right.
So
you do your time, you get out. Did you stay with the life, or was that a wake-up call?
Being that I was the way I was in that life, well, first of all, the minute you walk out, you're violating parole. You got to meet with people. There's no other way. That's a test. You walk out of the jail gates. You got to meet with people. I met with people. They said, you got a few options here. Come with us 100% full time. This is what you do. No questions asked, no turning back. This becomes your life. You can go smooth. You can go work in an office, take your time, do whatever you want to do, and just mingle.
Yeah.
Or you can walk away from us without any further obligation ever for what you did.
And you chose the latter.
I never looked back.
Wow.
I haven't jaywalked in 25 years.
What happened to the guys that said that to you?
Who's there, who's where, who's away, who's doing this, who's doing that. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Jersey's a little different sometimes where, and again, I would never give names, but there's guys that I kind of know their father was connected, their uncle was connected, they're made guys, and they just like are, not that they're running around like flaunting anything, but they're a made guy, they're with, like, I know Cuba Cavalcantes, and I don't think they ever did any prison time, and they're on Wikipedia, they're here, they're there, but they're just, I think some guys like either keep it really low key. I think some guys make it almost boring or not worth it for the feds to get them. Like, do you agree with that? Because there's some guys that I know they've been around forever, and I'll talk to you offline, and you'll know some of the names, but they just never got pinched.
Listen, Tommy DePhillips is a great example. He did 3 years. He died at 80-something.
In his bed?
That was Tommy DePhillips, Pee-wee.
Yeah.
That was 2 generations down from the boot.
Yeah.
He did 3 years, his whole life. Genovese guy.
But so you were still in the area, right? You're Nutley, you're Belleville.
Yeah.
When did things started turning? When did North Newark started turning? What years did the mob start to see its decline in Jersey?
2000. 2000, Bloomfield Avenue, Newark we had our restaurants, we had our clubs. I'd say 97, 98, 99, 2000. Around there, everything started to change.
Well, I remember
the restaurants left, the clubs left.
Yeah. Remember in 96 when Italy won the World Cup?
Yes.
We actually watched it at Gencarelli's back then.
It was Vesuvius.
We got smashed.
Yeah.
Won. Italy won. We're excited. I don't remember much about it. Fast forward, last year they won. I'm a little older. Had a little party at my house.
Wow.
One small part of me is like, oh, maybe we should go to North Newark to probably blow a fireworks. And I heard by now there wasn't much going on. Like, obviously Brooklyn did something, Little Italy did something, certain neighbors did something, but North Newark had like really nothing. Versus '96, fireworks,
No, totally different.
Police weren't shutting the streets because
totally different.
They were shutting the streets because they were celebrating. And
totally different.
Yeah, so last year it was like, I don't think people gave a shit, to be honest with you.
Listen, we had Vesuvius restaurant, we had Michelangelo's restaurant, we had Giovanni's restaurant, we had cafes. Everything was there. Now it's all gone. It's all gone.
What a shame. So what about okay, so you're a smart guy. You've been around. Let's kind of fast forward a little bit. Now, the Genovese, for the most part, and a lot of that same crew migrated down. Genovese is still very strong in Jersey, and they're like decentralized and they're quiet. I don't remember when was the last Genovese Jersey bust. I don't even remember.
Long time ago. A
So
long time ago.
So they're still strong. But where do you think they get guys from now? Whether it be the Cavalcante, whether it be where do they get guys from nowadays?
It's hard to say. Who would even want to be involved in this mess?
Yeah.
It's hard to say where they come from. Listen, there's no good ending. You're doing life on the installment plan at the very least.
Good point. Good point. All right.
Doing life on the installment plan, but there's always going to be somebody. There's always going to be some action to be taken, right? I just can't understand how you can even operate today. When back in my time, pay phones, driving, meeting, this, that, the other thing. But today, there's a camera on every telephone pole. How do you even operate? I can't even imagine how you operate. You're getting pinched no matter what you do.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to read the questions that came in from the community first.
Okay.
Then I'll jump to the questions on the chat. And don't be shy about Super Chat if you'd like. And also, I have my new Cash App below. Yeah, Daddy's got to eat somehow, right? But it's a question that I have. And I never really knew this stuff. But, like, I heard Patterson was a pretty strong Genovese area. Was Patterson strong in your time?
No.
That was probably.
I don't think so. Well, they might have migrated over to Garfield, Lodi, all of that stuff, but
I heard like Streaky Gatto and the Gatto.
Yeah, that area. That's Lodi.
Yeah. I think it's a little before your time, right?
Well, it's regional.
Yeah.
You gotta remember, this North Belleville, Nutley area is a regional thing.
All right. So here's one question I have, and this may be a wheelhouse or not. We kind of touch on this. How was it a Jersey crew brought back into the fold after the Amuso and Casso issued the wipeout of New Jersey edict and later went on the can? So after Casso went away, what was left of the Lucchese crew? Was it still strong? Did they kind of, with the guys Ricciardi and Astor's flipping, were they a shadow of themselves? How's the Lucchese crew post Casso era?
I think they were always strong. After all of that dust cleared, they still had a strong presence.
Got it. A guy we don't talk about much, who was a very powerful guy. Again, we talk about the most powerful guys you never heard of, was Pino Fiumara.
Yeah.
The most powerful New Jersey guy in the last 30 years, would you say?
Crazy guy.
Would you say he's one of the most powerful guys in the last 30 years?
Absolutely. 100%.
Some say he was on the panel running the Genovese when he passed. He's interesting. I don't know if you know this. When he got out of jail, he moved to Long Island.
Yes, I do know that.
And he goes, there's an article in the New York Times that the FBI checked to see his gravesite body to make sure he did die.
Oh, my God.
Being clever and tricking them. He also was related to former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who was open about visiting him in prison in Texas.
He did visit him, and that's a cousin, I believe.
Oh, shit.
Or an in-law. Cousin or an in-law, but he did. Yeah, that's true.
I can answer this, but I'll run this by you first. Did the Eagle Riggy have sons that were made into the Brigada? If so, concurrently involved in the life or perhaps in the can? Thanks.
Again, that's Elizabeth Kenilworth, but I think he had a son, Manny.
John Jr., and I think Vincent.
And Vinny, yeah.
Yeah, and
I don't know the status of them, but yeah.
So this is on Wikipedia, so I'm not saying anything other.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not like.
Yeah. There's no.
But them three allegedly became made. Manny passed in 2016. I actually met Manny at my cousin's wedding. A great guy. But
real quick. When the day I had to go on the lam, I was hiding out. I was at a friend of mine's mother's house, and I was watching TV, drinking wine. It was a day that I think that John Riggy either got sentenced or indicted. The weekend that I was on the lam, that was in '96, I believe. 95.
He got indicted mid to late 90s.
96, I think it was.
And then he was supposed to get out, and then he had to do another 10.
So he was on the news while I was on the lam. It was crazy to see.
Yeah. And I this is a story I'm not proud of. He was going to get out, and then his former son-in-law, Sean Richards, who screwed around on his daughter and left witness protection program with his sister. I met him through somebody, and he hung out in Jersey. He said his name was Jimmy. I didn't know that was him, and I was actually related to the Riggys through marriage. and I was like sickening that I sat down and broke bread with this guy, and he was a
Wow.
reason.
Just don't know. Yeah.
You know. So hold on, I just got to check. Let me go with questions. We talked a little about Ricciardi. Let me just see. Yeah, I think part of the strength, I know it was a little before your time, what made the Genovese strong was they had the mayor Newark in their back pocket. Wasn't it?
Atanasio. You Atanasio. That's in the 70s, 80s stuff.
I think he was a May guy as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he was. Now, this is an area that I'm telling you I'm fascinated with, especially Hudson County. Which of the families do you think are still present in Newark, Hoboken, and Jersey City today? You don't got to say names, but which families do you think are still present?
I mean, I don't know, but I can't see why not everybody is.
I don't recall Columbo's ever being too big in Jersey. My personal opinion. How about yourself?
No, they weren't.
Yeah. And then I was because we were doing a show one night and we talked about like Hudson County, how there was much less wise guys than you think. Then somebody turned me on to again a Genovese crew out of Bayonne, and I looked it up and they turned out to be pretty powerful.
I can't see why they all wouldn't be operating. I mean, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Can't see why they would, but I can't see why they wouldn't either.
Now, this may be more of a consulting question versus firsthand, but one of the things that Riggy was strong is with the unions.
Yes.
Labor racketeering. They controlled a lot of the local unions in Jersey. How did that work? Give us kind of like your perception how Riggy and his guys controlled the construction trade in Jersey.
See, my a lot of guys got into the union, so I guess they called it corruption, but we didn't know any different. So
yeah,
I don't know. Sal needs a job.
Yeah,
I'm in the union. It's what we did. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what union corruption is unless it's on a higher level than what we would know.
Yeah.
Most of the people I would know would be the blue collar aspect, right?
Good point.
They're going to work on the docks or the carpenters or whatever it might be. So we wouldn't know that aspect.
But if you look at it in Jersey, in the unions, who comes up? The Genovese again, and they were very big in the ILA and still are. So I know those guys.
Absolutely.
And this I'm most fascinated with this too. You may or may not know, but how did the Philly mob set up a crew based in North Jersey?
Yeah.
I know they did. And did they have issues with New York families operating in North Jersey? I know part of why Tony Caponegro was killed, other than killing Bruno, was because he wanted to sit down against Funzi Thierry involving gambling interests years prior. Yeah, the Philly crew had a crew in North Jersey.
Yes, right.
Where were they out of?
Newark. Everybody, never an issue. Everybody was here.
So there was like 7 families in Newark.
Everybody was here except for the Cavalcante family,
6 families.
And maybe the Colombos weren't. Maybe Benenos a little bit, but everybody was here. Everybody got along. There was never beefs between the guys. Everybody really knew each other. So a lot of guys grew up together. These are guys that are older than me, grew up together, but ended up in different factions, different crews, different families. But everybody got along. Like I said, on Saturday night, everybody would be at the same club.
Interesting.
No issue.
Now, when John Johnny Boy D'Amato was accused of being gay, I think it was by his girlfriend. Yeah. Ironically. Do you think there's any truth to that, or it might have been like a false wire?
What years were they? Swinging years? Who knows what they did back then? They were freaking crazy.
Good point.
Any
information, and I don't know if you want to share this anyway, any information about murder Genovese acting capo, Larry Ritchie?
Just that he was, that was a crazy day. I remember when it happened.
Yeah.
I remember when he disappeared, and then they found him behind the diner. I think they found him behind a diner.
Was that the one? The guy?
I think on Route 22, maybe they found him behind a diner.
That was found in the Huck Finn Diner in Union.
Yeah, I think so.
And then
I remember that.
And then DiGilio got killed. He was a big Genovese guy too.
Yep, John DiGilio. Yeah.
Yeah, they found like one of them. I don't know. And I know they found. I remember
when Ricky disappeared, And then I remember when they found him in the trunk. I think it was in the trunk behind a diner, like a week
I
later.
think it was a Huck Finn diner by me in Union, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Insane.
Crazy.
Any boot versus longies info or guess to chat about that? I guess they think you're 100, but
No,
I
but I
didn't
know.
age either. I just teed you up as a mob guy talking about history, so they didn't know the time or reference. But Longy was Zwolman?
Woman, yeah. Yeah. I guess they did business together. The boot, his presence is still here. He's still here in some type of spirit. I'll tell you why. The church I go to, as soon as you walk in and you look to the right, the first stained glass window in St. Lucy's Church is from Mr. and Mrs. Biardo.
Wow.
It's right there. Then I'll tell you what happened. What?
Yeah, please.
St. Lucy's Church. Do you know of St. Lucy's Church? It's on 7th Avenue. It's in Newark. It's in the North.
Yeah.
That was the Italian epicenter, basically, Little Italy.
Yeah.
So Joe DiMaggio used to come there, and all celebrities. So the church ran short of funds when they were finishing up some work. It was like they were like $1 million short. They were trying to raise money. An anonymous donor donated the last $1 million. They don't know if it's Richie the Boots family or Joe DiMaggio's family.
Oh shit!
They finished the job, and it looks beautiful. But they, it was what do you call it? Anonymous donor.
Interesting. All right. So, did you know the legendary Ray Tango? The name ring a bell?
Name does, but before me.
Yeah, I think it's like to roll up in a wheelchair and
never know.
No teeth, but now we shoot our shot. All right. So we went through. Somebody asked about the Buffalino family.
Yeah.
That was like northeast Pennsylvania. I think those guys in Jersey, right?
No. Well, no. Well, no.
Interesting. All right. So we're going to do a few things. I'm going to drop a link below. That's what I like about this. Obviously, got to know who you are. I can't just have randoms in. But if you want to come in and join the stream, if any of the four horsemen you obviously invited or anybody else, feel free if you want to join in. Yeah, that was a Huck Finn diner. The Huck Finn diner on Morris.
Route 22, right? Was it on Route 22?
Right off it in Morris Ave.
Yeah.
Marky Marciano supposedly used to go to the Rivera Club a lot in Elizabeth, New Jersey. I'm friends with a lot of the wise guys there. Well, let me ask you a question. If you stayed in a life, do you think you would have got, like, how long do you think it would have got, not to get a crystal ball, but to get proposed for your stripe? You think you were a few years away, would have been a long haul, could have been easier, like, if you had a crystal ball?
I don't think it would have been a long haul at all.
Somebody asked me yesterday, Fatball Sicilian on the show, and not that I'm an expert in any way, but just doing what I do with a lot of interviews. He goes, do you think it's easier to get made now than it was maybe 20 years ago?
It's hard to say. I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm not involved in it now, so I don't know. Right now, it's a monetary thing, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Back then, it was a little different.
No point.
Back then, it was turning into a monetary thing also, though.
Yeah.
I think in the 90s, it started to turn into that, you don't have to clip anybody type of shit. Because, listen, murder brings nothing but bad. If you stick to just gambling, maybe loan sharking or racketeering, this and that and the other thing, you can go a long way for a lot of years. The only thing is RICO. It hurts you. But for little pinches like gambling, this, that, the other thing, 3 years, 5 years. Yeah. Listen, I still say it's doing life on the installment plan, but, you're not looking at 30, 40 years off the bat.
Good point. Vinny Palermo, he was, although he was a Jersey.
That was a big shock.
Yeah.
Big shock. I remember when that happened. I was with some friends of his. I was in Long Beach Island. I was with some friends of his. We were outside barbecuing, and they're like, Vinny Ocean went bad.
Interesting.
When you just hear these names that go bad, and you're like, what the, how, what, how? How? You can't even comprehend it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because he was alleged to be the inspiration for Tony Soprano, and although he was the Cavalcante, he was in New York most of the time, right?
Yes, Queen.
Queens on the strip clubs.
Yeah, I think Queens.
Yeah, Giggles or whatever. Did you
Queens.
know Vincent Cosarelli, Rossmore Pharmacy in Belleville?
Of course. They're still there. Cosarelli's still here, and Rossmore's still here.
Yeah. Ray Tango's in his 60s, not that old. Anybody knows Ray Tango drop a line? Everybody has their different stuff. Tommy's very honest. He's not one of those guys that claim to know somebody when he doesn't.
No.
Illegals, that's it. Let me see.
Queens Boulevard, yeah.
Um,
Wiggles, yeah, Wiggles. That's right.
the Ocean was Bobby Basile's son-in-law. Interesting.
Uh,
I heard of Bobby Basile before. Most cars now have monetary people for some reason that the mob is gone. Because there's no movies anymore. Most are making.
Won't be gone. Why would it be gone? There's some money to be made on the street.
Well, let me ask you a question. Now that it's a little less violent, right? I'll keep that up in a second. A little less violent and a little less killing, and it's about money, so the bids theoretically shouldn't be as long. If the younger Tommy could have got into this mob, would it have been worth it for you, or still not worth it?
The old way.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved the way it was. I went to the social club. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved what it was. I was in harm's way many times. I could tell you, okay, there was a bar in Belleville called New Place, right?
Okay.
I worked in my cousin's pizzeria. I was like 9 years old. I was like the little kid C in Bronx Tale looking into the bar.
Yeah.
And wow, I'm like, holy shit, look at that. I want to be like that someday. You just think of it. You think of it, And then fast forward years later, I'm having a meeting in there and not knowing how I'm going to come out.
I'm telling you, Anthony Arlotta, who was on the previous show, said it best. He goes, people over 50 look at the mob differently than people under 50. So I'm 45, you're 52. We're not that far in age. But I didn't catch those golden years. I didn't catch that even in Elizabeth. So I didn't have a super good representation of what the mob was about.
Well, I saw it. It was front and center for me. I mean,
so being in Newark, right? And I went to school in Newark in the 90s. A lot of gangs. Did LCN work with gangs in Newark, or they kind of kept separate?
Kept separate.
Yeah.
No issues. I mean, when I went away, when I was in Essex County Prison, there was everybody. Nobody bothered.
Sam the plumber's grandfather was a doctor. I'm not surprised. Sam the plumber's name, I don't know if nickname, was also the Count. And he swore he came from a bloodline of royalty, and supposedly it was true. And he was a serious guy. And he supposedly sat on the commission. If you look at the great book for those that want to go deep dive in Jersey, the Cavalcante tapes, they called his bluff. They wanted him to testify, and he said no. He goes, well, we're going to release your tapes. He goes, you would never do that because you need them for your cases. If you release it, they're useless. And what do? They released it.
Paterno, I think Paterno was before Cabert and them.
Even before that? Okay. Did you hang out at the Gatehouse?
Of course.
Where was that?
West Orange.
Yeah. So I keep getting in the comments, and I was going to get to it, about mob activity. Was it South Orange?
Well, South Orange was the Campeses moved over to South Orange
after they got out of Vailsburg.
Yeah, because it's the same road.
Yeah,
South Orange Avenue goes from Vailsburg into South Orange, so they were there.
Got it.
Campeses were there.
Okay, we're gonna have Brooklyn guy come in.
Hey,
pal.
So Tom, I'm gonna introduce you to part of the Four Horsemen. You got Brooklyn guy, Vinny Bracco, and Joey the Hat Pay.
Good show last night, guys. Good show last night.
thank you. Hey, Tom.
Hey, pal.
So, Vinny, why don't you start it off? You probably have a shitload of questions or comments, or what are your thoughts on Tommy?
Yeah, Tony Soprano. Do you think it was the plumber, or do you think it was Tommy Boy Borato?
I think it was Richie the Boot.
Oh, okay.
Or his son.
Yeah, because Borato actually went to a shrink, didn't he?
don't know if that's true, man. I don't know
I
about
think he
Richie
did.
Boot. He
Yeah,
had
man, I don't see that happening, but hey, you never know.
who went? Somebody did go.
I thought it was Tommy Boy. No, not Tommy Boy. Who the hell was
Ri-
it? Tony Boy. Tony
Richie's
Boy.
son is Tony Boy. That's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It was
I think
Richie
he
the
did.
Boot. I can't see it. Not many noticed, but Richie the Boot was an orphan. He
Really?
doesn't have a bloodline. Richie the Boot was an orphan in Italy, and he came over here as an orphan. They don't know who his parents are.
Really?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Answer Emanuelis Spatara's question. I think the Fred Weiss murder, Gotti gave the order, I think the Riggy, and then I think the Riggy gave it to Vinny Ocean to execute, I think.
I don't know about that.
Gotta look that up. I read the book, I should know. Let's see. Joey was running it. Okay, statement.
Tommy, what's up, bro? How are you?
How you doing,
What's
my
good?
man?
Good. I have a question. Who was the character Jackie Aprile in regards to the Jersey mob?
It could be so many.
Yeah, because I know some of them you could, it's parallel to
It could be
a
so
certain
many.
street guy, but
That whole setup can be so many around here in this area, this Newark area. It's
Yeah.
hard to say. Guys,
is that where you're from,
before we go
Newark?
any further, you have to understand something. I can't give you anything as far as current names, anything like that. I never cooperated. So
That's good.
we do
Neither
this-
have we.
Yeah.
No, me. I never cooperated. So
Everyone just assumes if you're on the show, you cooperated.
I know, but because that's what it seems like. But I went away for this stuff. I was in prison for this stuff, and my reputation is that because I was, I never broke. So some
Yep.
things I can answer, some things I can't answer. Insight into history, I have it. It's in my brain forever. I'm from here, And
So
I was
you're
in
from Newark?
Yeah, Belleville, Newark. I was born in Newark.
What's up with the guy he killed, Angelo Bruno? He was from New York. What's his name? Tony Caponegro.
Yeah, he was from Newark.
Yeah.
They
Was
killed
that
him. Right
he was a little before your time, or
Yeah, but they killed him right after that.
yeah? He was a pretty tough fella, from what
Yeah,
I've
of course, yes.
Yeah.
If he didn't do that, he might have been all right. But
Is it true the Genovese tricked him into doing it?
That's what they say.
the words could have gone in either way. You know what I mean? So it's hard. Listen, their lifestyle is a manipulative lifestyle, right? So they may have said it because they actually wanted him out of the way. Who knows? It's hard to say.
So what was that? What was now that history passed? What was the real knock on Bruno? He didn't want to get into drugs, or what was it? What was the knock? Why did he get killed?
I don't think there was any real beef, to be honest with you. I think they wanted to move him out of the way to get into current times. I'm gonna guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think,
yeah. Joe,
he was a wealthy guy.
which I think is a mistake because you need both. You kind of need both. You need to stay in touch with the old world guys, and you need to mingle and earn in the new world way. So it probably would have been beautiful, but when you have egos, and in this day and age, or 20 years ago day and age, you kind of have that spoiled brat mentality.
Mhm.
Move them out of the way.
The opera generation. Me.
Listen, flipping Paul Castellano obviously was kind of had to be done to save a lot of people, right? A
Yeah.
lot of people. I mean, that would have been a disaster if they didn't take him out. There would have been probably 12 guys gone if they didn't take out Paul Castellano, I would assume. Because he was going to wipe out that whole.
Just out of curiosity, why do you say that? Because they weren't keeping up with the times. The street guys would have took over. What do you think?
Yeah, well, they didn't turn over tapes to him. They were they're backdoor.
Oh, on the other side. Yeah.
The other side. But everybody did well on both sides of the pond when Gotti took over.
Yeah.
He was a good presence for the guys over here in Belleville. A lot of us did well over here, not just in the legitimate also. Guys that need to work got jobs, regular hardworking guys got jobs.
Yeah.
I remember after I came out, I needed work. I was working, and they put me to work. They put me to work overnight in construction. I was working a day shift, a regular job, and they put me to work at night. That came from
Tommy,
me. That
let
came
me
from
ask
them.
let me ask you a question. I know a lot of the reason that not only the tapes that Ruggiero and the lawyers wouldn't give up was that the guys were starving under Castellano. He was keeping everything himself. Do you think that the Chico and Gravano go against him if they're not starving under him?
It's hard to say. I think if it came from Gotti, he's a very strong presence, man. It's very hard
Yeah.
to, if it's coming from him, it's
Yeah.
very, very hard to refuse that guy.
Yeah, I
It's
guess.
one
Yeah.
thing to kill a boss, but to kill
I
a
would-
boss in Manhattan, rush hour, what
Savage.
you know how many people were on the streets at 5:30 on a Monday? I mean,
Christmas shopping, yeah.
Exactly. I mean,
But
that's
now,
really
fast forward 3 years after that, 5, 10 years after that, everybody's doing good on both sides of the pond. I mean, the river, the Hudson River.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Gotti had a relationship with the guy John Amato or John D'Amato.
Well, that was
allegedly gay. Yeah.
That was the Cavalcanti guys.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
he had a really strong presence here in Belleville too. I mean, he had.
Yeah, Brooklyn. I had a Brooklyn guy named Joe. Bobby Cabert was a whale on the Jersey side and was Gotti's emissary in Jersey. Very powerful captain.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
With the Cambinos. Is that a name? Did you guys hear from the New York side?
I never did.
Really.
Yeah, it's interesting. You could be like 10 miles away, and they're 20 miles or 30 miles, and God can be super powerful, but you never heard him because he's out of the borough.
I'll tell you how strong Gotti's presence was. So, Bobby Cabert came from Belleville, went over there, did a hit for them. He got made with those guys, or he got upped. I don't know if he got made or got upped. And came time for trial. Bobby Cabert, who was from our neighborhood, he was John Gotti's guy in Jersey, was in our neighborhood in Belleville. He got offered 10 years. And Gotti said nobody takes a plea. And they followed him, and Cabert got life. He got convicted and died in jail.
He got offered 10 years.
Got offered 10 years.
Holy shit.
And John says, we don't admit anything. This is a new thing. We don't admit anything. And our neighborhood guy went away for life.
Wow.
Just to answer Bandit Dane, the guys under Castellano, you got to remember, they weren't with Gotti. That were the Brooklyn Staten Island guys.
Right.
Gravano
Right.
hardly knew Gotti, only from bouncing around. They were
Right.
starving under Castellano. He was giving everything away.
Yeah.
So my question was, do you think that Gravano and the Chico, who was a loyal guy to Chico, would have backed Gotti if they were doing fine with Castellano? I think some of it was they weren't doing fine with Castellano, and when they waited, they thought they were better with Gotti.
I'm
But
going to go back
ahead.
to this. If John gets 4 guys in a room, he's like what do you call it? When they manipulate your brain. What's it called?
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know what you mean. I can't think of it either. Persuasive. He's persuasive.
Yeah, you can't. You're walking out of here doing whatever he wants you to do.
Someone told me once that if he was standing in front of you in 5 minutes, he could convince you he wasn't there.
What's that called? The guy. They put
Yeah,
you
I
on.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they went with them because they realized he's got to do this, and he probably would pull it off. And if he does, where are they going to be? Because I think most of the guys that were at Sparks, they were Gotti's people. So, I think that plays into it because, they were smart enough to know.
In my opinion, you have to be around. You have to be around. You got to be a presence. You got to be around. If you're not around, things are just going to happen so fast under your shoes. You're not even going to know what's going to hit you. You got to be around. And you got to be, you can't be a boss. You got to be a leader, right?
Yeah.
That's in legitimate worlds. That's in every world. You have to be a leader, not a boss. So Gotti was a little bit of both. But no one's gonna go against what Gotti said. I'll say it 100 times. 5 guys in the room. He's going to get your brain to think the way he wants you to think. The only thing that bothered me about Gotti is that he wouldn't let anybody take plea deals, and that's a little tough.
Yeah.
You know, when you're going into the 90s and you can't take plea deals, in the 80s you can't take plea, it's a little tough. You know there's a presence. We know there's Cosa Nostra. You know there's a mafia. What are you hiding? You know what I mean? Take your plea, do your time, come out.
Tommy,
10 years state, the guy would have been out in 7 years, 8 years.
Tommy, what do you think of the story Gravano said, which is odd? I wouldn't believe Gotti would allow this when he said that he told Tommy Biglotti's brother, even though we killed your brother, you're safe. I can't imagine Gotti would be okay with that, knowing that there's a threat out there that I killed your brother. You know I killed your brother. Do you believe that story? That Gotti knew?
It's risk versus reward. I don't know. That's a very tough one.
Yeah.
But I say it like I said it before. If you're loyal to this life, this goes with it. These are the nuts and bolts. I saw the nuts and bolts from the inside. I lived it. I know the nuts and bolts. I went into rooms knowing that I would possibly not come out of these rooms, that my own family was going to knock me off in a social club. So the point is, you know it going in. So yeah, there's a possibility that they would that, but then emotion takes over, so it's very tough.
I guess, yeah, you're right.
And that John Gotti, as far as his relationship with the media, you know, everybody says he was posing for the cameras.
Yep.
Basically, it's a gift and a curse, because being out there like that, he got locked up. But I think the fact that they were always up his ass is why it would be difficult to kill him, you know, because the feds were watching him so tight.
Wow.
Would you feel comfortable, you know, going to Mulberry Street or anywhere? You never know who's in the car watching you guys. So it was like the gift and a curse, I believe.
Okay, but when you sign up for that, you know that this is a possibility. They tried to kill him at the social club. They blew up the car. Right?
Yeah.
So some young buck is going to take that order. He's going to take that order and do it. It's crazy, right? But it is real that if somebody wants to make their bones, they're going to kill that guy. Listen, murder brings, in my opinion, murder just brings, it breeds cooperation. Because you got life sentences, man. Who wants to go away for life? For the cause. Meanwhile, that guy is going to try and bang your wife or your girlfriend. They're not going to send money to your family. I don't care who you are. They're not. I said it to Tom before. The scent of a woman for the rest of your life. You're never going to have the scent of a woman for the rest of your life for the cause. It's hard to do, man.
In that movie with Armand Asante, the Gotti movie from 1996.
The HBO one.
Yeah. He one of the best part, I don't know if it's true, was when he told Joe Piney, when Piney told him, you know, there's a young 19-year-old in Sheepshead Bay now, gets the ear of a couple of captains, and you get a bullet. You have to have rules.
True.
Now, I could see an old timer probably telling him that.
This is true. This is the life.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's true, but it's crazy.
Do you think the Jersey guys were different mentality than the New York guys? Like, do you think they just carried themselves a little differently?
I just think the Jersey guys were more familial.
Okay.
These were neighborhood guys that grew up since they were in diapers. Like I told Tom before, the guy that turned on me, we changed diapers together. We were babies together. So I think more of the Jersey guy, you know, New York is enormous, right? It's huge.
Right. Other crews are coming into other crews, right? That didn't know each other.
Jersey was strong because all the neighborhoods, everybody knew everybody. Everybody grew up together.
Right.
Every family was here, but everybody grew up together. Everybody knew each other. When you start mixing crews, I hear them saying, you know, this one went with the Staten Island crew, this one went with the Brooklyn crew. You don't know these people.
You're absolutely right.
So the heart is gone. Why am I going to take a bullet for this guy? I don't even know this guy.
Right.
You know, you should, but you're not.
Yeah, but then so let's ask this. We're gonna in 5 years, 8 years, whatever. We're gonna be in the 100th anniversary of the modern day Cosa Nostra, right?
Yeah.
And they go back before the Black Hand, and then these societies go back 400 years. These societies haven't been, you know, there's been challenges back then. There's been famines, there's been pandemics, there's been other stuff, right? Even out law enforcement. why is it so much different now, one generation? I'll ask Tommy first and then Brooklyn guy and then Joe, but one generation later, 2 generations later, it's falling like a house of cards. What systemically changed?
Glamour.
Tommy, you go first.
Glamour. Big houses, $800,000 houses, Mercedes Benz,
Yeah.
Rolex watch, all of that shit fucked everything up. You got to be humble, live simply. If they were able to do that and go back to what it was, they can do it. But now, today, you can forget it. Everybody's jealous of each other. And I was thinking about this before. I was on my stoop by my alleyway, and I'm saying, who's really going to come to the stoop and give me 20,000 that could be theirs? They're going to say they got robbed for 10. And they're going to go buy a Rolex. It's just greed.
What do you think, Vinny?
Yeah, I think it's greed. I think that the sense of neighborhood is gone. I
Yeah.
think you look in the old time. You know, you go to any neighborhood now. Go to Bensonhurst. Try to find 3 Italian families that live on the block. It has changed now, and the sense of neighborhood has changed. And when you lose the neighborhood, you lose the fabric of what you're about. And I think that,
That's right.
like you said, you have guys coming from the Bronx that you may have heard of once. You never met them. If your best friend, Tom, that you grew up with can rat on you, what the hell do you think someone that didn't grow up with you is going to do?
Right. My best
Yeah.
friend. Right.
Right.
George Frezzalone. Yeah, he was a guy around here, George Frezzalone. That was a big shock when he went bad. Yes. He was a Scarfo guy. Before Scarfo, Bruno guy. George Frezzalone. I saw that pop up.
Yeah. Now, Joe B, what do you think? You agree? Because remember, things been around for hundreds of years, and in 2 generations it collapsed. Tommy's saying it's
Mm-hmm.
you know, the glitz and the glamour. Then he added that there's not a sense of neighborhood. Anything else you can add?
Well, I think that like, how many full Italians are there? I mean, like, I married an Italian woman, but the intermingling of nationalities, well, now you might be Italian and Chinese or Lebanon, you know what I mean? And, you know, I think that takes you out of the run. I mean, you have to be a full-blooded Italian. I know they said they changed it, but I don't know about that. So in that case, there's a lot less Italian people. Full Italian.
Listen, I'm a perfect example. My family's all Italian, right? I'm only one of maybe 3 that got involved in this mess.
Yeah.
My grandparents, you know, grew up in the public housing and everything, but tried to make sure that their kids did not get involved in this mess.
Now we can agree that Bannigan's right. Definitely not a life of married people. Hey, U.S. Army Combat Medic, always thank you for your service. We are able to do this podcast because of guys like you. So it's sincere thank you for your service. So with that being said, though, is I always look at the parallel of Italian Americans in the U.S. and as a lot, you know, although there's some pockets that we can improve, we've been very fortunate as a culture within the U.S. and we worked our ass off to get where we are, right? But why did like the Italian American culture prosper while the mob died?
The mob didn't die, nor did the Italian American success. They both flourished.
But what I'm saying though is, wouldn't, like, let's just say again, I get shit for this all the time, but like if Italian Americans became more successful, became a lawyer, who became a doctor, who became a judge, who is wearing cool baseball hats, whatever's going on, right? Whatever's going on, wouldn't they make it more of a system of getting to those people in the professional class? You know, you're still going to need your muscle, you're still going to need your money, guys. Still gonna need, but might as well indoctrinate into the fabric of society to make it even stronger. That's my question to you guys. Why don't you guys think that happened here in the U.S.?
Well, let me just add one thing real quick. Someone commented, JM, and he said Italian and Chinese. Come on, pal. Okay. Where is Tommy Agro in this chat room here? Find out who his main girl was. Tommy Agro, the maid guy, you know, the guy, tough guy, Joe Dogs. See who his main chick was. I guarantee you, she's a lot closer to Chinese or Asian than you think. So, I mean, you know,
Joe,
it's
Vinny will tell you when you start your channel, it's watch what you say, even though you're probably right. They get on every word. Am I right, Vinny?
Oh,
Yeah.
he's gonna have trolls before he starts his channel. They're just gonna be waiting for like the grand opening to get on there.
Great. That's great.
And
I
what
tell
do
you-
I tell you guys when you say start a channel? I said, I don't know if I could take all the abuse these guys get.
You can.
Wait till Bandit Dane gets a hold of your channel.
Oh,
Forget
boy.
it. A rough
Tommy,
face.
I also think the mob has suffered a lot with the Italian Americans doing well now. Honestly, is because you don't have a lot of
Good point.
young Italian Americans
Yeah.
now from the mob that have fathers that were in the mob. I think a lot of the generation now, they didn't have family in the mob. So they didn't see that omerta. They didn't see their dad raising them, schooling them. These are just guys that hung out. They didn't have mob connections. So they weren't schooled the way you guys were schooled.
I think it's a matter of survival versus glamour.
Yeah.
So for me, it was survival. Not a lot of guys my age had to go through the survival that I had to go through, helping my mother, this, that, the other thing. But, when you inherit it versus having to do it, it's a whole different situation. You're more hungry.
Yeah.
You're more hungry. You're not as greedy. Yes, you enjoy the fruits that go along with, the ill-gotten gains, but survival, which was what all the old timers had. We talk about these guys as we saw them as captains, bosses, doing well. They really came from dirt. So how do you hurt a guy like John Gotti who wore 2 different sneakers when he was a kid? How do you hurt him? You can't hurt him.
Yeah.
He died chained to a bed because, humble, less than humble, right? So I think glamour destroyed it. I think anybody that brings their kids into it has to have their head examined. One story I remember when John Gotti apparently said to Vinny the Chin that his son got made or something like that.
Yeah.
And Vinny
And then he made his son.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but he made his son, though. That's the thing.
Made his
His
son.
son, Vinny Esposito, that's what was hypocritical about it.
Yeah,
Because
of course.
he got his sons involved,
Right.
You
The
just
life is
like Gotti did.
You
the
know,
life is full of hypocrite.
well,
Hypocrite.
and this is public info. Esposito got caught in his $20 million townhouse.
Yeah.
And
I know.
they found the list of Jersey guys in the Genovese faction, old and new, and were current. I don't know if you guys knew that. Look that up. Insane.
It's crazy.
It's also a smart move what Gotti did because he figured he's going to jail. He needs someone to come and get the messages and send it back out to the troops. It's his son, so he would be on that list. It's not like the underboss is going to go to Marion, Illinois and, talk with Gotti. So I think that has something to do with it as well.
Absolutely, Joe. I know of brothers that one brother doesn't really care for the other brother, but when he was going to jail, he had the brother made. So it protected his interests in the street.
Exactly. Yep.
It disappears real fast.
Somebody asked about Tony Pro. Did they mean Tony Pro or Tony Proto?
No, probably Tony Provenzano. He was out of Jersey too, right?
Provenzano was, yeah. So was Tony Proto. He was a Gambino guy.
Okay. If you could let us know which Tony Pro, and we'll do our best to answer.
Because
So-
we call Tony Proto also Tony Pro.
Got it. There was a question about DB. Do you think guys Gotti whacked DB because of he had porno charges coming?
I think he wanted his business.
That was one of the theories.
Terrible.
Yeah.
But that might be fact. It may not be fact. We can suppose, right? But who knows?
Yeah, but if you think about it, so basically, Sammy, and this is what he said. He said the split was 75 to Gotti, 12.5 to Gravano, 12.5 to DB, right? So then they take DB out, and Gotti does like 80-20. So Sammy really gained the most out of that deal. You know, so I don't know what the reason would be.
Yeah.
You know, but
That's a tough that situation there. That's just crazy.
he was in jail at the time too, Gotti. So
is just a crazy happening, man.
Now, somebody wrote more than once that DB started out as the Cavalcante. Is that you guys know anything about that?
Oh, I don't know.
Could be true. I mean, I wouldn't see one. I said with Jimmy Rotondo. I'd like to look that up. That'd be interesting to see because it's a DB transferred to the Gambino family. But can you really transfer? Isn't it? You know, if New York wants it, they'll get you.
Yes, you could transfer, sure.
Yeah, I got to look that up. So learn something new every day.
It also depends how big of an earner you are, too.
Yeah.
They're not going to let a major guy get out of their, clutches.
I think Sammy had a hard on for DB because DB, I think he looked at him as soft.
Question for me.
I think he looked that he was soft. And I think Sammy had a hard on for that.
Yeah,
he liked DB.
My family was 100% supportive. Most of my family saw what my mother went through trying to raise two boys while my father ran off with his gumad. So they kind of weren't so surprised. Disappointed, yes. Supportive, 100%. I got a year in Essex County. Got paroled from Essex County. And never looked back. I've been legit since. I never jaywalked since the day I was let out of prison.
Tommy, when you went in, because the moniker of being mobbed up, was it a lot easier for you in prison?
100%.
Did they look for you?
County, I had food. Anything I wanted to eat, I had. They didn't have Marlboro Lights in the prison. I got Marlboro Lights every day. Yeah, I would say yes.
Do people approach you like they know you're coming and then they search you out? Hey, come with us?
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Some guys are pricks. With the first weekend I was in there,
Really?
there was a message sent to a staff member there to take care of me, right? Don't keep me in like a hole, I guess you would call it. You know, county jail is pretty bad. It's not a good place to be. So they said, make sure you take this kid out, put him in a good spot. This one officer, Irish guy, called me into his office. And then she sent me back into my cage and did nothing for me until Monday morning. I got sentenced on Friday, and they kept me in a cage until Monday morning. And then word got back to the neighborhood, and it was kind of ugly.
Were you in your mid-20s? How old were you?
26.
Yeah, that's a rough time to go away.
26. So I lost
you did
everything.
Your time in Jersey?
Essex County. Yep. Newark.
Yep. Because when they send you out west, the made guy thing is not, or the affiliated thing is not as, big of a deal as it is on the east.
Well, that's federal. See, when you go with county, if they really want to fuck with you, they give you 364. That means you're almost doing a year in county jail. County jail is everything mixed in, from parking tickets to fucking child killer molesters and everything mixed in between. It's a mishmash of everything in county jail. So when they really want to fuck with you, they give you 364. Because when you get 365, you go to state.
Right.
So there's county.
And I think you're eligible for parole earlier. If it's like a
county's
year.
The worst of the worst. Then state, and then there's federal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got paroled from county. But wow. County time. They really want to fuck with you, they put you in county.
How did that change you when you got back on the street?
Because they tried to break me. They were trying to break me, so they put me in these conditions, But they weren't breaking me. There was no way.
But how did it change you when you got back on the streets?
Well, the first thing that keeps clicking into my mind is seeing my grandmother from the second-story window when they were taking me away to jail, crying outside the second-story window. That's one thing.
Yep.
And just, I don't know. I really can't answer it. I will tell you this: jail does not rehab people.
No, a lot of people come out worse.
Yeah, no problem. Doing time is not. Listen, we as men adapt within 24 hours to our surroundings. We have survival instincts within us. We can do the time. Something else kicks in. It's correctional, right? It's bullshit. It's penalty. Yeah. They call it a correctional facility. It's just a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I didn't want to do life on the installment plan, as they say. So I just made a change in my life, and I've been legit for the last 25 years.
Which is good.
Yeah.
One of my brothers went to jail, and he basically did 38 months, no, 33 months, and that changed him. You know, he wound up getting his GED in there. He wound up getting physical training courses he took, and when he got out, he became a personal trainer.
But that's federal, probably. In county,
Yeah. Yeah.
In county, there's
federal.
nothing to do except time. It's
Yeah.
miserable time.
But it's not even meant for those kind of stretches, 11 months. It's meant to be a
It's
short-term repository, right?
It's just demeaning. It's barbaric. County time is barbaric time.
Yeah.
It's not good, man. It's not good. I don't know how they even let it be, but it's not good.
Rob
Yeah.
Lito did 6 months in Morristown and 6 months in county. I can't imagine that was fun. Rob's a good dude. Rob's a very good dude.
Right.
Interesting. So we're going to wrap up soon, but before we wrap up, Tommy, the Jersey Mob, give us, like, again, obviously you're not in the streets, and even if you were, knew anybody, you wouldn't say anything. But what's the prognosis? Do they have a shot? Is it always going to be around? You know, give us kind of the prognosis of the Jersey Mob. That's kind of the theme for tonight.
I think because of the glamour, like I said before, and the greed, it'll never be what it once was. There's a business, and there's going to be somebody to do it, but I do not think it'll ever be what it once was. And I think greed and the pool that you're pulling from, it's not there.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, whatever happened, you're not gonna say his name, but what happened to the guy who rolled on you? Where did he end up? Where's he today?
I don't know. He's around.
Interesting. So I have a theory, and this goes more into, you know, guys that, you know, went to WITSEC or formerly rolled and then went into the program. If you really follow like the lifespan, let's say you take 20 different guys that went into WITSEC or went into whatever situation post life or not WITSEC, right? A lot of them died a few years after, whether they were sick or not sick, for whatever reason. A lot of them wind up getting arrested again and going back to jail and serving time anyway.
Yes.
Some got divorced. Half didn't have their family. Half went broke. Like, imagine you're a wise guy making whatever you're making, 10, 20, 30, 40,000 a month cash. Now you have to get a job and you're only making $2,500 a month gross. You're only clearing a few $100 a month, right? You can't call your friends, can't call your families. So, like, I always wondered if they did a study on what was the outcome of ratting. Like, if they looked at the last 100, 200, 300 rats, if you will, what was the outcome and how did these guys end up? And if you say to somebody, listen, you can roll, but more than likely this is what you're looking for. There was a guy in Jersey, and I forget the name. I was talking about it with somebody. He had dinner with Frank Legambi and the Jersey guys and the New York guys. They met up over here in Kennewick, New Jersey, and he wound up rolling. He taped the conversation. He killed the guy that was going to rat him, and then he killed himself in his own.
Oh, yeah.
I know personally.
Was his name?
I know personally. Nicky Skins.
Nicky Skins.
I know personally.
Yeah. Well, so you get what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I think, again, like, not to unpack, but I like to look at exit strategy. Brooke and I always talk about and outcomes, right?
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
That was a crime of passion.
Okay.
His son was involved. His son was pinched in the same type of investigation. I think it was a crime of passion. That happened. That was a terrible day. I remember it clearly. I know the people personally. I'm friends with them.
But who did he kill? A guy that
killed Al Rossi. He killed the guy Al Rossi in Bloomfield. Vending machine.
He did it under the stewardship of the feds.
He didn't care. He killed himself 2 days later.
No.
He didn't care. He was a career criminal forever since we were children. He was.
But then why roll? That's what I don't get. Like, I remember reading about that Frank Bologna, right?
I think he rolled.
Yeah.
And made a deal that was going to help his son in his case.
Got it. Because I remember about that Frank Bologna guy, right? He ratted on, I think, like Arlotta and
Oh, John Bologna. John.
Bologna.
Yeah.
John Bologna. No, Frank Bologna.
Yeah.
Sorry. And I remember
Yeah.
about him, and he died. He was like diabetes. He was fat. He was sick. And he died like 3 days later. Bro, you can't wait 3 years. Like I just don't. Like I'm telling you, I'm gonna like hire an intern. I got 20 interns.
The bottom line is it doesn't end well for anybody involved.
But that's my point. Like I could see if like there was like an island of informants, and there was like, you know, like Jack in the Boxes and rainbows and unicorns and like whatever. That I get, right? Like then there's an outcome. But I just like I don't know if even Henry Hill, like Karen left them. He was like back into drugs. Like I don't get what's the benefit.
But turning and being a cooperator is another street move. It's a street move. It's not. You're not going to see the Pope and get you know the holy water thrown on you.
Yeah.
It's just another street move. They're still street guys.
Yeah.
Sammy the Bull is still a street guy in his brain.
Yeah.
He is a gangster. Doing fantastic with what he does, but he is a gangster. He never said anything else. He's not trying to rehabilitate kids and help children. He is what he is, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but
So-
why? Like, he got to keep his money, right? He avoided a lengthy sentence. He put away, as I understand him, to be his best friend, or at least an important colleague of his, if you will.
Yeah.
And then does something again to go away for 17 years. I can't wrap my head around it.
Not even surprised one bit.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit. He's a criminal.
Yeah.
It's in the brain. It's in the blood. It's in the DNA. It's how the mind works, and it's just a hustle until the day you die.
Walter says he likes Tommy. Maybe we'll have a fifth. Instead of the 4 horsemen, we'll be the head of the 5 families. Maybe we get Tommy in on the first. A good guy. Well, Tommy smokes cigars, so that by right.
Oh yeah, I know.
Macanudo White.
Not gonna know what a good. What are you, a bourbon guy? Scotch? What do you drink?
No, I just drink wine. Yeah, I drink wine.
You always drinking wine.
I just like wine. I don't know.
I love that about you. Listen, well, only reason I don't drink wine because I'm trying to do keto. But
I'll tell you this why. For a lot of years, I smoked cigarettes. I drank every night, going out partying, hanging out, day in, day out. Never a habit. Just it was the life that we were living, right? And I got sick. I ended up with like a hole in my esophagus, and
wow.
I couldn't drink for years. Never was an alcoholic or had a habit or anything. It just deteriorated my esophagus. For 2 years, I had to eat white rice, take acid pills, and eat very, very strict. And then when I started to come around and feel better, I started just drinking wine. And I don't know if I want to hit the hard stuff again. I don't know.
I don't blame you.
But
We're
I know
gonna,
what you're
we're gonna have the 5th horseman. We're gonna call Jerry the graphic guy and have him add a 5th. All right. Well, listen, we're gonna. Hey, Damon, how are you, buddy? Keto is hard. Trust me. I like yo-yoing like an MFer. So, all right. So, guys, any other questions you have for Vinny before we before we wrap up? Vinny or Joe?
Tom, someone asked about Newark. Is Silvio DeVita still there?
Apparently, he's still around. I don't know.
Would he be the most?
Yeah, he's probably.
I think he's the guy that pretty much is the one that would be the guy there, right?
I would assume so.
Yeah, that was an answering a question over there.
Yeah.
I could go on for hours, guys. I got
Tommy answered that without answering it.
I could go on for hours with the stories from the past. Forget about it. It's just great. From the inside out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the best way.
I was in many bad situations.
And you came out to tell it and living. But I have to tell you, these people are rough. They're gonna look to see if you have a jaywalking ticket the last 20 years. God forbid you do, and don't forget.
I got nothing to hide.
I believe you don't.
I'm good.
I believe you are.
I'm good, and I'm good with all the guys. I'm good with everybody. So
great.
Yeah.
So Joe, you got anything for our boy Tommy?
I just really want to thank him for answering my questions and giving his insight on certain things. So
I enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Some people
Tommy.
regret it. Some people, it's dark to them. I actually love talking about it. So it's enjoyable. And if it makes somebody enjoy that day, have a good time with it, gives them some good insight, it's awesome for me.
Pleasure meeting you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. we're going to have coming on. Before we wrap up, just make sure you hit the subscribe button. We're back to where we were prior to the split, so I'm really excited about that. The new guys in the crew helped make that happen. I'm going to be doing Frank. I always screw up his name. Fiordolino.
Yeah.
Fiordolino is going to kill me. Great guy. Do a part 2. And they're already starting. They're like, oh, why don't you make me do John? One thing at a time. Frank barely did an interview with me. He does very few interviews, but he's a great guy. He's coming back on the show. I'm going to get a lot of questions lined up for him. I'm going to get Fatball Sicilian on. I want to hear his story. I want to kind of deep dive with him. Previous ones, check out, Lee Cole. Check out our question and answer from the 4 Horsemen last night. And got to put the baby to bed. So, guys, listen, thank you all for being here in the chat. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, the 4 Horsemen. And I'll salute everybody. Have a good night.
All right, guys. Take care, guys.
Yep.